Wait, they were like, what?
And I was like, boss, please.
Hey, bosses, I'm Megan.
I'm Jillian.
And welcome to Boss Please. Sorry, I don't know. We don't have a steady intro. We just kind of go with the flow, and I love it.
Yes.
That's how we roll. We have a great show for you today. I'm
So
really excited. We're going to be talking to a recent but good mentor of mine, Deborah. And she is the owner and founder of Bizzy Girls, which we're going to get into. But first, let's talk about how we were a boss this week.
Okay, so I was a boss this week because I rejoined the gym, huge hurdle, and I did a personal training session.
Oh my God.
Which if you watch me go up and down the stairs right now, I can't. I can't move. We were working yesterday, and she was so nice. Her name was Luba, and she was trying to walk me through doing total body exercises as opposed to, doing machine circuits with weights and everything. She's like, you would really benefit doing cardio and weights at the same time. So here are dynamic movements that you can use.
Oh, it's like Jillian Michaels.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's
literally,
that is what is most beneficial for your body type, whatever. And I've always known that. Obviously would never do a CrossFit situation or a HIIT class. I have injuries, so I can't really jump. Anyway, she kicked my ass. And yeah, I'm very sore today.
But is it a good sore? Did you just wake up and you were like, yes?
I mostly woke up and I was like, yeah. But I will say, a previous guest that we had on, Oriana Leo of Nani's Nectar, she gave me this CBD salve, and I put it on my knee last night. I put it on my elbow last night. I woke up feeling probably better than I would have without it.
Good.
So yeah, that really helped. How are you a boss this week?
So I went to a dermatologist a couple weeks ago because my dad had a melanoma, and I used to do that bake. I used to be all about them tanning beds, and so now I have a lot of moles. So I went and got it checked, and standard, just needed one removed. And so, but you know me.
Yeah. Needle baby.
All of you guys listening, I hate needles. And I know, if you've ever gotten a mole removed, I know Jill has, it's not anything super scary. It's pretty easy. And that's what everyone was telling me, but I was just so nervous. I'm like, what do you mean? I have to get this taken off? What? So I made Garrett come with me because I was like, what if I pass out and I can't drive myself home? Oh my God, I'm the worst. So we get in there. Well, we get in there, and it's on my back. So I'm on my back. And she's looking at my back, and she's like, I can't find it. I'm thinking yes, I am home free. God worked his magic. He took it off my back. Thank you. And then she was like, oh, there it is. And I was like, damn it. So she gave me the needle and scraped it off, and it was good. It actually hurts more now, being off, than it did the actual procedure, but it was fine. Yeah. But point is, I was a boss because you have to take care of your body, and you have to handle those things.
Dude, seriously.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. So, she said it looked like the Lululemon sign. That. She's like, yeah, this is a weird shape. I'm just, not Spawn, but all over my body.
So funny.
Okay. So real talk. What is something you wish you, let me start this again because we switched it up. Okay. What's one thing you could have benefited from by learning at a younger age? And I say this because our guest coming on teaches young girls camps. It's an entrepreneurial camp, and these young tweens and girls even younger than that are learning business skills and financial skills and how to make a product all before they even hit middle school. And I'm like, what? So it got me thinking, what's something you wish you learned younger that you could carry through your life?
I don't know, that's pretty young. Before middle school is pretty young. I don't know where my head would be at then. I mean, I've talked about how I wish that I knew about my self-worth when I was younger.
Okay, that's great.
And it really took me until I was about 25 years old to realize oh my God, I am an amazing asset. I am a hard worker. I deserve everything that I've been given. And I haven't, since realizing that, the guilt has sort of gone away about me getting things over other people, their reactions, things like that. But I think if we're going to talk about like a skill specifically, as an adult, I'm very confused about investing. So I feel like I would have really benefited from learning a little bit more about investing my savings, investing my money. And I don't know if that's something that Debbie talks to the girls about, but even in my adult life, like I'm just now looking at the stock market, money market accounts, Roth IRA, regular IRA, because we're at an age now where we obviously need to be focusing on our retirement. And I know that sounds so freaky because we're in our early 30s.
No, but you need that interest, man.
No, seriously. And you need to be smart about it. So I wish that I learned a little bit more about money when I was younger. What about you?
Oh, I totally agree. I think that there should be your basic math, science, social studies, English, and finance classes because you don't realize how much it's going to affect you. And I completely agree with you when it comes to that. I wish I knew more about investing. It's really funny knowing where I am with my finances now. But when I started at post-college, I was actually like really in it. I went to the bank and I was like, I'd like to open a Roth IRA account, please. And my parents were so proud of me. And my first steady job, I put my own money away because of course, like a lot of corporations come with a 401k, but then you can also open your own Roth account and put your own savings for your retirement away. And like, you can't touch that shit. And if you do, you get penalized. But I've touched it because I needed it. So I no longer have a Roth IRA. I started so dang good, you guys. And then life happened and I'm just like, I need my money. But for me, I wish I was going to say business. I wish I started to learn a little bit more about all-encompassing business or like how it is to run your own thing, because I think growing up you always think I'm going to work for somebody and get my money that way. But then as I started to develop into a human, I realized, oh, I suck working under people. Like I need to be my own boss. So I think it would have been more helpful to know that at a younger age. That way I could have started utilizing that part of my skill in a more beneficial way than kind of learning the roundabout way.
Okay. But
also I wish at a young age I also learned and practiced more of like not giving a fuck about what other people think.
That's a big one.
I really wish, I mean, obviously that everyone, could benefit from that and it's really hard, but just not caring, like just doing you and really just being like, I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Seems
this
like
is me.
We would have greatly benefited from Bizzy Girls.
I really think we would, you guys, I'm really excited to talk to Debbie because how I discovered her was I am on all the sites all day long. I have my jobs and everything that I'm doing, but I check the casting sites every day. And I also check Craigslist because Craigslist has I've gotten a lot of jobs from Craigslist. And you go into so I went into the creative section underneath gigs. That's a good section to look. And there was one looking for an assistant teacher to these camps, these entrepreneurial camps for young teens. And I was like, I love mentoring. I was in pageants. I was like, oh my gosh, this is 100% me. And the money was pretty good. And it was like a week long. They had already found somebody by the time I emailed, but there was just something about this program. And I looked up Bizzy Girls and it just struck a chord. I was like, there was a light. I was like, this is something I'm going to be a part of. So I emailed Debbie. I had to email her a couple times because she's a busy woman, but she ended up getting back to me and we ended up meeting for coffee. She's amazing. Her story is unbelievable. We'll get into it, but she had paid me a compliment. She said, I get a lot of emails about people wanting to be a part of Bizzy Girls. And she said, there was just something about your energy, even through an email. She's like, I knew I had to meet you. And I was like, oh Debbie, oh my God. No, but this woman almost married a prince. She's dined with royals. She knows many, many amazing wives of Arab leaders. I'm reading her book, Unveiled, right now. We're going to dive into all things Debbie when we get back. Welcome back, listeners. Joining us on the phone from Washington, D.C. is Deborah Kanafani. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Megan. Nice to see you and hear you.
Yeah, it's so good. We've been chatting so much these last couple weeks, and I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and let you listeners know what Debbie does, because it's all of the above. So Deborah Kanafani, LCSW, is the founder and creator of Bizzy Girls. Trained as a psychotherapist, Deborah has worked with girls and women on issues of empowerment both in the United States and abroad. She has served as the executive director of Women in Film and Television, Washington, D.C., and was the director of international productions for PBS overseas, where she produced educational programs for women and children. In 2009, Debbie's memoir, Unveiled, was published by Simon & Schuster. The book is an account of her 3-year stay in the Middle East working as an activist with the wives of Arab leaders to stand up to oppressive regimens. Deborah... Oh, did I say that wrong? Regimes. Okay. I swear I read over this bio, Debbie. I swear I did. I got to look from Jill. I was like, oh, I totally mispronounced that. Debbie is also the author of Kate and the Bizzy Girls, a tween chapter book series about Kate and a tween entrepreneur who provides an empowering role model for young girls. Debbie, it's so good to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
So before we dive into Bizzy Girls, I want to talk about your book that was published in 2009, Unveiled. I'm currently reading it. And in it, you were really inspired to interview a lot of the wives of Arab leaders and how they sometimes didn't get their ideas or their voices weren't heard. And you really dove into all of that. So what inspired you initially to write that book?
Well, my ex-husband was a diplomat from that part of the world. So I spent many years with these women. And I was always really amazed at their stories, their bravery and courage, and that nobody knew their stories. And I think they were a little bit afraid of being misrepresented by media in this country. And they kind of kept what they were doing regionally, and no one really knew about it here. So after I was divorced, I really had this urge to tell their stories because so many of them had had such an impact on me. And so I contacted them. The first person I contacted was the wife of Yasser Arafat, who was very, very feisty and was standing up to all the men in the PLO. And I knew her and her mother and her sister and her whole family quite well. And she said to me, "How quick can you get here?" So they were all basically had that attitude and wanted to speak right away. And I thought, what a great opportunity to share their struggles, because even though they were in a different setting and they were, on a slightly larger scale because of their positions, they were really quite similar to struggles that women were having all over the world. So there was that commonality I wanted to share as well.
That seems really special, Debbie. Like you were the person that gave them that platform that they had been craving.
Well, I was lucky that they trusted me to do that. And I also felt a responsibility that there was no way that these stories would not get out there, since I told them that I would do this for them. So I was very driven. It had a lot of difficult climbs to get over to create this book and get these stories, but there was just no turning back, and it was an amazing learning experience for me. So.
Debbie, as I'm reading the book, were you ever afraid to tell these women's stories? Because I remember specifically you were saying, in one instance, you were doing you were I think in New York, you were doing an interview with Yasser's wife, or at the time, and you had gone shopping with her mom, and you were afraid to get into her car because she had a bomb.
Yeah, that was in Paris.
Oh, in Paris. That's right.
And Suha is Mrs. Arafat. Her mother, Raimondo, is a very dear friend of mine, and she was a journalist, and she had been one of the first people to create dialogues between Israelis and Palestinians. She was Palestinian and opened her home in Nablus to Israelis. So she was considered a traitor by some Palestinians, and the enemy by many Israelis. So she had been jailed by Israelis, and then she'd been ostracized by Palestinians. So she was always in the middle of conflict at that time, and somebody had blown up her car in in Paris. And yeah, I was out with her when I had first arrived in Paris. We were very late in a cafe where Simone de Beauvoir used to go, and just sitting in there talking. And then she told me about her car being blown up, and I was afraid to get in her car.
You were like, let's walk to the stores. I remember.
Yeah,
I would have done the same thing.
Right out, let's walk. So, yeah, I mean, there's always that danger. But when I lived in the Middle East and I was in a place where there was conflict, I was living in the West Bank, I was living in Gaza. Oddly enough, I really wasn't afraid there. I felt very protected in a way that I can't explain. I just felt safe, and it didn't really get in my way, so.
Dang.
I was on a mission.
Amazing.
You were. So you have been, your whole mission seems to be that you are creating platforms for women and girls to advance them in some way. And when we were, Meghan was reading your bio, I want to hear more about how you got involved with women in film and television and PBS and sort of, what that whole thing was about.
Well, I think stories are great ways to learn. I mean, it's shown that we learn the best through stories, and people need to share their stories, and we need to hear them. So giving a platform for storytelling is always, I think, a really useful thing to do. The storytelling is very therapeutic. It helps us change the narrative in our brain, and it really does something even biologically helpful for us. But when I was in the Middle East, I went there to write this book, and my children were very young, and I was divorced. And so my ex-husband actually, turned out, and I didn't realize until I got there, had the right to keep my children with him under the laws there. So that's what happened, and that's why I ended up staying there so long. But in order to stay there, I had to have a job. You can't just stay in a foreign country. And so I had met with the Minister of Broadcasting there. Someone made the introduction, and he had the idea of me working with some of the foreign governments to help with funding and help getting stories. And because I was American, it was easy for me to travel in and out of the territories where most of those people couldn't. So I had that advantage as well.
Sure.
And Arafat actually had to personally sign off on that position. So it took quite a few months to get that done, but he did approve of it. So I became director of international productions, and I was able to work on projects like Sesame Street and things like that, which was already going on there, but to renew it. But then I also, through my meetings with women and so on, saw that there was a need for information. Knowledge is power to get out there. So also created some talk shows for women to talk about health issues and legal issues, to try and educate them, and created a children's show called Magic Glasses. One thing I've learned about living in the Middle East is that culturally people really can't say no. They have a hard time saying no, so everybody says yes.
So you use that.
So I had a grant from the British Embassy to do a show on helping children to learn how to treat other children that had disabilities. Because we were in a war area, there were a lot of children that had disabilities, and they wanted to help those children have, a healthy life. And so I had met with people that were writers and directors who all said yes, yes, yes. And then, nobody came through. And so all of a sudden, I had this grant and I had a deadline. So I ended up writing the show myself. even trying to direct it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yes,
Yes, girl.
But anyway, you just learn to put on all these hats. But you know, it was about a blind bunny who's flying and crashes and you know, just comes up with these magic glasses that he gives out, and when people put the glasses on, they see how to make the world better for other people. So it was a very sweet project, and I got to work with a lot of people that were disabled in the Gaza Strip and so on, and learn from them how they wanted to be treated and so on. So there was that, and then there were the, you know, projects with women. And some of them were television projects, and some of them were just, you know, meetings with very brave young girls that weren't married to leaders, but were trying to educate other girls in their villages about honor killings and giving them a safe place to go to. And they would do it under the guise of saying that they wanted to educate girls about certain health issues. And then when they got the girls alone, they would tell them, you know, if you feel threatened, this is where there is a safe place, and this is how we can help you. And these young girls that were doing this, I mean, if they had been caught, they would have been severely punished. Yeah. So they were just incredibly brave. And of course, I offered, you know, to communicate between different areas, because I did have that liberty to move about. Yeah. And I did meet a lot of women there that were filmmakers as well. Great storytellers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could literally listen to your stories like all day. You're so fascinating, Debbie. I tell you that every time we chat. Oh. But you're talking about the importance of storytelling, and yes. You decided, so we're going to dive into Bizzy Girls. What started Bizzy Girls was you wrote a book series called Kate and the Bizzy Girls. How did that idea develop? And talk us through that process.
Well, after I did the book for Unveiled, you know, about the women and the memoir, I went around and I was able to speak to women all over for about a year. You know, with Simon & Schuster, I did book tours and so on. And I learned how concerned women were about their kids. And also as a therapist, you know, just reading a lot of research and seeing that girls' self-esteem was peaking at age 12. You know, that's the research that was coming out of NYU. And because girls were, you know, becoming more social at that age, in the sense of comparing themselves to images in the media, and, you know, a whole cast of different reasons of why their self-esteem was starting to decline. So I just thought the next thing I wanted to do was going to be for little girls, and just pulling on my own experience. I mean, I grew up in New York, and as a young girl, being maybe 12, 13 years old, I used to take some classes on Saturday at NYU that my father would send me and my brother to. And then I would just love to kind of go off on my own and wander around the museums all by myself. And maybe it was just a different time that you were able to do that. So the character of Kate as this young girl whose mother is head of the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum, was kind of I kind of knew her stories. You know, I had a great sense of her character and where she lived and what she did, and her independence as a little New Yorker and loving the museum. So the stories just started to come out of me. And then, as most characters are, they're, you know, compiled by different people that you've known in your life. And so I decided to tell the story of a young girl who wants to be a fashion designer. Her mother's a famous fashion icon. And because her mother's at the museum and has access to centuries of costumes, you know, there was a way to bring history into it, and stories about women in history into the Kate books. So basically, you know, I try to go with that growth mindset where this little girl believes she can do anything, and she is always being told, you can't do this, you can't do that. But she finds a way to do it, and she doesn't really need other people's approval, even though she knows that people look at her like she's kind of odd. She can't help being who she is. And, I wrote the first book, and so many moms wrote and said to me, my daughter really wants to be like the girl in your book. And I said, well, that's really interesting. Maybe I should make a little camp, workshop for girls where they could have their own business. And, because this little girl wanted to be a fashion designer. So I did the first camp in Santa Monica at the mall, because I thought, where do girls like to go? They like
right.
to go to the mall. And we used the community room, and the camp was a great success. And actually, in a way, I thought it would be something cute, but I didn't realize that these girls were so serious about having a business or being independent, and they had so much creativity and drive, and so many ideas. And I just watched this evolve and morph, and I was shocked by what I saw. So the girls, it was very positive response, so decided to do another one, and then another one, and it just kept growing. And this summer, I think we had almost 25 summer camps going on that, turned into empowerment and entrepreneur camps. And in fact, they're still going on now in Westchester, New York. So, just keep growing those. They're based on, what's very popularly called now social emotional learning. So we're teaching them skills about goal setting, kindness, empathy, decision making, collaboration. There's so many things that go into quote unquote entrepreneurship. It's not just about making money. Sure. Even though the girls do really love making their own money. Yeah. They're very, very driven to do that. And when we ask them why they want to make money, I'm always really surprised too that they say they want to save their money, they want to pay for their school. They have more long-term goals than I think girls did when they were my age. We just thought about what we would run to the store and buy.
Right,
but,
right.
I don't really hear that. I hear like a really big concern and actually anxiety, about their futures.
Yeah.
But some of the girls also want to give money away for different causes. So there seems to be more social awareness, especially towards homelessness. And I think because they see that in their neighborhoods,
sure.
No matter where they live. So they're more aware of that.
Debbie, it's funny. Like, I don't know if you're going to find this weird or not, but my jaw actually hurts from smiling.
We're both beaming over here.
And I just want to say thank you, because you are doing so many wonderful things for young women. And I feel like Meghan is in the same headspace as me. If we had this when we were these girls' ages, I feel like our futures could have been limitless. And the idea of opening up these opportunities for them and teaching them the entrepreneurial way, and it is so special. I can't wait to share this message with our listeners and beyond. I want to know, walk us through what a day is like in the Bizzy Girl camps for anybody that's thinking about, signing up.
Right. And, I have to say we have a lot of repeat girls that have gone every year for the last 5 years. So,
that's awesome.
It varies a little bit where we try, like in a Montessori school where you sort of meet, there's different levels in the same room.
Sure.
So, in general, though, it is project-based. So girls are creating their own product. And the way we structure it is they actually choose what they're going to make before camp starts. And that way they come to camp already knowing what their product will be, since we only have a short amount of time. So they learn, what an entrepreneur is. They learn about failure, about problem solving. We discuss all that. We don't want to make it seem like, entrepreneurship is this easy breezy thing where you're just sitting on the beach all day while people work for you. Which is what some of the girls think it's about when we first just discuss it, and for that reason, we have them interview some entrepreneurs and find out about, problem solving and so on. But they learn about the concept of being an entrepreneur. We try to encourage them by showing them other children that are successful entrepreneurs. And, they do product development and they try to visualize their whole concept. They learn what a brand is. They're making their product. They learn about selling points and how to pitch, and we do a lot of role playing. I used a lot of things I learned in my training as a therapist, like in the classroom. Role playing is something that's transformative, and we do a lot of that. So the girls get up and they practice pitching their products. They practice walking into a store and trying to sell their product on consignment. And then they even play the role of the store owner, and they love doing this. It's like theater to them. Yeah. But they're once they do it one time, they just want to keep doing it again and again. And they get better and better and better. And then they learn how to negotiate, and they learn how to write press releases and inventory and, all these different things. And it all leads up to a pop-up store at the end of camp. And so we invite friends and family, and they actually sell their products, and they keep the money that they make. So they go home from camp with money in their pocket, which, it's a results-driven program.
Right.
Which is a great way to build confidence. It's not just on paper. They're actually experiencing it. And then they love to come back. We sell out really fast. We're booked because they can't wait to come back, and they think all winter about what they're going to do. And we have one girl that does this amazing vanilla extract, and she starts soaking the vanilla beans like 4 months before camp starts.
So I love it.
So great at planning these things.
The other thing you have in the camp that it just stuck out in my mind, because I really love this aspect, was the kindness board. Where, because you're teaching empathy, and the girls write how someone helped them that day. Is that what it is?
Well, no, it's throughout the week. So, basically we want to validate kindness. We don't have any competitions or contests in our classroom. We're all about creating a culture where girls support one another.
Yes.
And so as part of that, we make a kindness board, and we just tell the girls, look, there's a pad of paper, a sticky note and paper there. Anytime someone does something kind for you, sharing their supplies or helping you or anything in that manner, just write down the action, not the person's name, and just stick it up on the board. And at the end of the week, that board is full, and it's just about validating good behaviors and making it acceptable. Girls and teens and preteens, they have like a biological need to be accepted by their peers.
Yeah.
And they can either be accepted by doing things that are bad, or they can be accepted by doing things that are good. And I think we have to give them more opportunities to be validated for positive things.
Of course.
And, that's our goal in the classroom, to do that. And we really haven't had problems with, bullying or things like that. People have been 99% of the time, have been really helpful to each other.
Debbie, you talked about challenges as an entrepreneur. What have been some of your own challenges when creating Bizzy Girls?
Oh, I face challenges like every single day.
No, you're the busiest woman. I know.
I think one of the biggest challenges I have as an entrepreneur, and I think this is pretty common. I was speaking to a mom who's an entrepreneur about that this morning, is the isolation. Often when you're an entrepreneur and you're building your business, you're working alone.
Yeah.
And I do have people that I work with. Of course, I have a lot of teachers during the summer, but during the year I'm building other aspects of Bizzy Girls. One person is in New York, and one's in California, and one's here. So it's all like satellite, and it's a lot by the on the phone. So there's that challenge of, keeping that drive and keeping yourself going when you're not in an environment with a lot of other people. So, I've gotten around that a little bit by joining some women workspaces, or I belong to a business accelerator in California. But I think the isolation is one of the biggest challenges, and not having enough people to talk to about different challenges that come up, feeling like I have to figure them out myself. I don't want to keep bothering my friends,
No, I get
with
that.
things. And, I think having partners is a great thing. If you really want to get your business going to the next level, you have to start working with other people. And so those are some of my challenges. Always, um, fundraising to try and go to the next level.
Sure.
We just, and this was with the help of my accelerator, wanted to scale the business. So we're scaling it where we want to work with teachers in different areas, which we're just starting to do, and train them how to start little Bizzy Girls businesses in their area, and make it a very easy entree for them, not like an expensive franchise. Just make it very easy for them to get in and start, developing a business. And then we have a partnership on the back end if they're the right, person that can do this. And, bringing it to their communities locally. So that's one way we're scaling. And then the other way is digitally, where we just opened, and I mean it, we just had the first stores go on our marketplace today.
Oh,
this
exciting.
morning. We just
I have to check it out then.
said okay as of yesterday. And that has taken us almost 2 years to build. So we created a marketplace, almost like an Etsy, but for young entrepreneurs. And we coded it from scratch, so it has all kinds of security features in it. And also, the big difference between what we're doing and what Etsy's doing is that our girls can, when they open a store, they pick a 4-digit code, and then the only people that can actually buy from them are people that they've given the code to. So anyone can see their store. They're getting all the experience of running an online business, which is, where their life is probably, and business will probably take place in the future. They have a dashboard. They have all the features, but very kid-friendly, that they would if they were on Etsy, except, the moms don't have to worry about strangers and mailing things to strangers and returns. And so we try to eliminate all the concerns and let girls have the experience that they want to have. So we're really excited about this platform, and working with organizations, that also encourage entrepreneurship for older girls, like junior achievement and so on, that we can actually give these young entrepreneurs a place that they can funnel into and actually have online businesses. And of course we're, have videos that help them, and training and so on. So we're very excited about that.
This is so awesome.
I love that.
So since I know that you have that plan in motion, I'm sure that you have future plans in motion. So what is the future of Bizzy Girls? Where do you see it?
Well, I see it in the two areas that I was speaking about, which is the, scaling on a local level, on a grassroots level through local people, and then being an online girl empowerment community. Because on our site, there's not only stores, but there's stories. There's lots of stories sharing about how people had successes and their challenges and so on. And we have videos of girls like Malala speaking, inspirational speakers and so on. So we're just trying to communicate, form a community for them. And maybe we're developing an entrepreneur kit right now.
Right. Yes, the kit. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the kit.
The kit. I remember you telling me about that.
Which we were kind of holding off until our platform was ready, so that when they have an entrepreneur kit, they can then open a business on the platform. So we have that coming out. We're excited about that, and some other products, But always, again, as an entrepreneur, there's so many details that you have to attend to, which aren't always the most fun thing to do. But you have to keep like one eye on the little details that help you move forward. And then you have to have an eye on the big vision, as well. And that can be really tricky.
Yeah.
Well, you are making such an impact on so many young women's lives. So I got to give you a clap.
Yes.
Got to commend you for that, because this is all what we're about on this podcast, just elevating women to the best they can be.
You're doing the same thing. I mean, what you're doing is so important, and it's having, ladies like you to communicate with and kind of partner with in a sense, to get that message out there, because we all play a role. I can do what I'm doing, but if it doesn't get out there to the public, which you do, then it's only half done. So I see it as like a big puzzle that starts getting all the pieces put in place, and we all play a role in it. So thank you for what you're doing as well.
I'm just thrilled to have been connected with you, and I'm excited about my future with Bizzy Girls, because I'm currently being trained as a teacher, so I can hopefully teach them my own camps. And
you're helping me with the social media, which I see is
really I'm doing a little bit here and there. We'll connect on that later.
You obviously really know what you're doing, and I don't.
Oh no, Debbie, it's a collaborative effort.
When you put something up on Instagram, you know how to get people to engage, and that's a talent. So I appreciate you.
Teamwork, Debbie, teamwork.
Chipping in.
We got to help each other out always.
Of course. Speaking of the Instagram, though, Debbie, people can go to @BizzyGirls to follow you. I almost said us. Like, follow you.
They can go on @BizzyGirls.com, and also our website, if they want to open a store now. I mean, the more people that open stores, the better, because it can helps us test it. It's Bizzy Girls is BIZZYGIRLS.
Perfect.
So
and we will include that too in this post.
Yeah, and then also, we because we're in the model for the stores is a subscription model, which will be like $5.99 a month. But for now, while we're still launching, anyone can go in and use a code. We have a code BG60.
Okay.
And so they get 60 days free, for their store. Yeah, they can just use that code, and they won't be charged, now, because we want to test it little by little, and get feedback and so on. So
amazing,
wonderful.
We appreciate anyone opening stores, and need any help, just let us know.
Well, we'll put all the info when we post the episode. Well, Debbie, thank you. I know you're a busy woman, and I'm excited for you to come back to the West Coast so we can get some coffee again. And
I will be there very soon.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, Debbie. Well, thank you so much.
Both of you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, listeners. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @BossPleasePod. And don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on iTunes. Navigate the path to your best self with us, because bossing together is always better.